know, but um, mate, I have got before we get into it. Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All
Yeah,
good.
I have got so many comments now on that post.
Which the football and the bodybuilders
Yeah,
one.
so before I came on, I was looking. I have got, where is it? 445 raging S&C coaches
Four
on
hundred
the,
what? Four over 400 comments on
yeah, over
it.
400
Shit.
comments. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, use an example. Hang on a second. Some of these are great. Bodybuilders compared to people just trying to stay athletic. Cool story, bro.
I think I may have seen that one on there. Yeah.
And then was this other one? Honestly, they're going off me. Comparing bodybuilders to football athletes that had to do a healthy volume in order to stay fit is not smart. Try compare them to the new bodybuilders in the same category or the new record-breaking powerlifters. New generations will always be better because there is more knowledge. Um, it's insane. Comparing weightlifters and bodybuilding training with conditional training is like comparing CrossFitters to ballet dancer. Dot 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 dot. And you're a coach, dude.
Yeah. Someone
Ah,
said you rage baiting as well. Wasn't it on there?
yeah,
Someone said rage baiting.
yeah. Someone says rage baiting. It'd be cool to actually compare today's bodybuilders and bodybuilders from the 1900s and soccer today to 1900. Some people, honestly, their comments, I just don't understand half of them.
Yeah.
Um, it's just people just go nuts, mate.
I remember
Absolute.
seeing it in the morning when you posted it, and I remember like watching it and stuff. I didn't think for 1 minute, oh God, here's one that's gonna like really get under some people's skin. I just didn't. And then you messaged me afterwards saying, "Oh, have you seen the comments? It's going off." And
Oh yeah, and it's literally this year. I have annoyed a lot of people.
yeah,
I really have annoyed a lot of people between that one and the bodybuilding one. Oh,
yeah. Well,
I
obviously,
mean,
I could see the bodybuilding one going off because I thought, yeah, loads of bodybuilders are going to kick off to this, but I didn't see a demographic that were going to get pissed off with, this post.
no, it's probably the coaches that do that type of training. Those are the only
Yeah.
people that are going to get pissed off, and they,
Mm.
you know, yeah, it just went crazy. You've had, because have you ever had like you had that post this year with the Wimbledon one, which got taken down?
Yeah.
Um, but was there the Diet Coke one? Did that go viral too, or did you just have a
It
na?
went viral. I had a high reach. I can't remember what reach I had because I didn't used to look at the reach then. Had a lot of engagement with it, a lot of comments, and then I think I archive it in the end or something. I think I archived it in the end.
Well,
Um,
you took it down.
well, I think I could put it back up. It's just in my archive, I think, because I remember thinking, oh, this is a bit like a bit pretentious, like standing there with my shirt off, opening a diet Coke and drinking it like that. But it was literally just to, it was like almost clickbait because it's almost like, oh, what's this?
Right,
That and goes, oh, what's this? So they're more likely then to read the post, and then the post was just about aspartame.
right,
It wasn't something to, and then I had that woman come on and she was giving me all sorts of abuse. She was like, "Oh, you should delete your page." She was like, "You're going to make people unhealthy with the advice you're giving out." And then she was saying, "You should look at your body. Do you only eat organic?" And I was like, "Is that a criticism or is that?" Or I don't know what. I didn't know how to take that. So
do you only eat organic?
yeah, so
James, organic made, just tattooed on your chest.
yeah,
Just like,
it's not even a thing, is it? Anyway, but I was like, yeah, I was like, if that's a criticism, I was like, yeah, it's not a very good one.
no, I don't even understand it.
Yeah.
You know, I had a guy comment, well, the one you screenshotted for me, Brian, what was his name? What did he say? That guy, what was his name? The old guy.
Yeah, yeah. I begin with an S or something, and he was like, yeah, bring back rock and roll and hard training and something else, wasn't
and
it?
drugs or some
Yeah,
shit.
yeah, yeah.
Steroids, dude. I clicked on his profile picture and it just didn't match the
It wouldn't.
tone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, anyway, today, what do you want to talk about, mate? Well, the
Yeah,
topic
that's
idea.
yeah, yeah. Sure, sounds good.
So I came up with the topic idea today, and I thought, what would our advice be if we went back to when we were 16 and we could, put an arm over the shoulder and like you like to do to me when you beat me in paddle, and give a couple of words of advice,
Mm,
what would it be? And specifically, obviously, not life advice because you don't come here for life advice, but for training and nutrition.
yeah,
I don't know. Where do you want to start with training? Should we start with
yeah.
training
Do
and
the
then get
training
into the
one. Yeah,
nutrition
yeah,
one?
yeah. Go for
What
it.
would you say out of curiosity with the stuff you do today?
So what if I could, as my 16-year-old self? Well, I just used to fart. That was the thing as a 16-year-old, or let's say an 18-year-old. Because you're an adult then and things like that. So I would probably say don't like have an idea of what you're actually trying to achieve with your training. Like I just used to, a bit like what you've talked about in your post yesterday about the difference between an exercise that's going to make you stronger or an exercise you're just doing, which is just kind of general activity and exercise. My well, if you like whether you call it training or not, my activity back then was purely just exercise based, just getting a workout in with no clear strategy or reason behind why I was doing something. It was just go in, um, no, give myself a workout, hopefully come out of there feeling fatigued, beat up, sweating, mission accomplished. So yeah,
Yeah, so you would say that you wanted more kind of like of a goal and direction with
yeah,
what with
exactly. Having a purpose behind my training and then a way to actually go about achieving that,
yeah.
as opposed to just blindly going in and picking up some exercises and just doing them and then going in maybe later in the week and again not having no structure, just oh I might do the same workout as what I did on Monday, or I might do something different. No, who knows what it was. And so there was no way of knowing if I'm like becoming a better athlete and moving better, getting stronger, getting faster, getting fitter, because everything was just chaos. It was just
Mm.
changing all the time based on what I felt like doing on the day. Like one day I might go in and do some push-ups, bicep curls. Um, Another day I might go in and hit the punch bag. Another day I might go in and blast out some intervals on the treadmill. Then I might be doing chin-ups and some squats. It was just a random clusterfuck of stuff, basically.
Were you getting your workout off forums, weren't you? Or was
No,
it
no, that was the nutrition stuff.
ah right,
Yeah,
I see. Right, okay. Yeah, that's a rabbit hole.
that's another one. Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my God.
We'll cover the nutrition afterwards.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a big one for you.
Yeah.
The forums. I mean, yeah. But with the training, like, where were you getting your like
And then
advice from?
later on, I started going reading about training, and I used to look for the Kamjagonde's Never Back Down workout. It was between that or Brad Pitt Fight Club. So I used to go online and used to be like, it would be like, oh, you do this. It was like a split body routine. And then on Saturday you would do 45 minutes steady state cardio and all this stuff. And I just used to kind of like mix it all up together and
Right,
just
right,
and chronic cardio. I got into chronic cardio. Like
Cr-
cardio was always a huge part of my training. Like
right.
I would always like I would always leave the gym like absolutely drenched in sweat. If I
Mm,
wasn't,
mm.
then I wasn't working hard.
Mm.
So
I think that's such a common one. People just not having structure and a goal and a direction. Like
mm,
when I chat to people over a call, that's the first thing they say to me. Look, I just want some structure and I
yeah.
want a direction and I want to know where I'm heading. Well, I mean, you saw me at like 18, mate, or
Yeah,
17.
doing your tricep where you were all over the place.
No, I wouldn't stop, would I? You
I
know?
remember you were like um you were like you were doing. you're doing like deadlifts into pull-ups, and you're like supersetting like deadlifts with pull-ups or something. I was like, wow. I can remember seeing it and I was thinking, God, that's a strange superset. Like, you're fatiguing your back with pull-ups and then you're going back into deadlift. But and I can remember then being at reception. I think it was Kane at the time. He's like, yeah, he's a strong guy, but he's like, he hasn't got a clue what he's doing in terms of like Swiss action.
When I tell people like I've had to learn the hard way, I
Mm.
really mean it, you know?
Yeah.
Like I don't regret it because I I gained valuable experience, like a lot of
Yeah.
experience and what not to do. And I know we talked about this earlier. Sometimes I can come across, I think, quite dogmatic, maybe, in my approach and kind of how I sound.
Mm.
But it is because it's through learned experience. Like
Yeah,
it
you've been on
comes,
the other side of it.
yeah, and it comes from a good place of like I just genuinely want to help people, and I don't want them to waste their time,
Mm.
because I said to you before, like if if I know that something works better, I would be using it and I would be writing about it.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing holding me back from using a different approach. I can and I
Mm.
have used a different approach, before where I realized I was going down the wrong path, with my training and I kind of had to switch lanes because it wasn't getting me results.
Yeah.
And I suppose that leads me into my bit of advice is I always say keep it simple. That's my mantra for training is yeah,
Mm.
you need to keep things simple. But also exercise selection, like you alluded to there, So I put up a post, I think it was 2 days ago, and I do think it is one of the more valuable pieces of writing that I've done for my book because it kind of strips away all the noise, and it gives people a criteria of like, okay, what's exercising and what's training,
Mm.
because if you're training you're accumulating a specific stress that gets you a result, right? Like we've talked about that obviously in Portugal tons of times over. For something to classify as training, it has to be incrementally increased as a stress over time. For it to be exercising, well, that could
Mm.
just mean you, like you just alluded to, you just do an exercise.
Yeah.
You do some pull-ups, this, that, the other. And you're running around the gym and you're doing a
Yeah.
bunch of
Just
different
throw a work.
things.
It's a workout, isn't it? Rather than it's just a workout rather than actually training, I guess. That's the sort of the way I look at it. Like
Right, exactly. Yeah,
just making the
definitely.
workout on the spot.
Definitely. Well, I'll try and remember off the top of my head. I have got the post here actually. I'll pull it up. And all I need is the bullet points because I can't remember quite what every point I've put in there was. Um, so rule one, it must permit the use of heavy loads, right? So for something to work,
Mm.
it has to disrupt your homeostasis, right? So you look at like base layer principles, it has to be heavy, like if something isn't heavy,
Mm.
it's not going to change you,
No.
and it has to be stressful
Mm.
for it to work, you know.
So accessory exercises don't fit into your yeah.
They done. So you smiling?
Just asking.
They don't fit in for that very reason, right? Like, so how can I put this best? There's a lot of people that think out there that you can do high repetition training with very light weights and create a muscle building effect.
Mm.
Now, in my experience of doing this for 10 years, and you saw me, how I used to train high reps, I used to do a bunch of stuff like that. All the bodybuilding movements, you
Yeah.
know, like getting a pump, leg extensions, brutal leg extensions, and hamstring curls, and even beyond then, like periodized quite well, so it wasn't just like throwing muck at the wall and hoping that it would stick. It was like in a proper plan. And what would happen is I'd get a pump and then my legs would return to the exact same size that they've always been.
Yeah.
And if you're being really honest with yourself, nobody's ever got big doing a set of leg extensions.
Mm.
You look at these jacked bodybuilders today. The reason they're jacked is because one, they're born that way, and two, they're probably taking a bunch of supplements to look that way as well. Their lifestyle supports the way that they look. It's an
Yeah.
entire thing outside the gym. And now these days they're doing like pump work, but actually they just look the same.
Yeah. They're
Actually
just
what
maintaining what they have there, sort of thing, really.
exactly, and what got them to that place was basic barbell lifts. Nine times out of ten, if you look at their training history, is
A
heavy.
common one. Yeah, go on. Sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say, in my philosophy and how I look at it,
Mm,
sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. I've read that by Brad Schoenfeld.
mm,
I've read muscle, I think I've got the book somewhere down there. I've read through the entire thing. I don't agree with it. I don't agree you can make a muscle bigger by getting more fluid into the cell. I'm sorry, I don't. I don't think it actually does much of anything. I
yeah.
think mechanical tension is the driver of hypertrophy, and
So the
there's two.
metabolic fatigue side you don't agree with
I
then?
don't know.
Yeah.
I don't at all. Um, I think mechanical tension. There's two grades of that. You've got lightweights or
Mm,
just time under tension, which I don't think does anything, much of anything. Your muscles don't grow by counting seconds. They grow by asking it to increase force production.
yeah.
And there's people that use very light weights and they go to fail and they say, "Oh, I've taken it to failure. That's what matters. That's what grows muscle." Well, let me ask you this: when those bigger muscle fibers start to really get fatigued, the forces placed upon them are so light because you're lifting light weights because you're doing sets of 20 with your dumbbell flies is not going to trigger any type of growth because those muscle fibers require heavy weights for them
Mm,
to grow. So by the time you tap into them, they're not going to do much of anything anyway. Because
yeah.
you're lifting light weights.
Mm,
Right, and look, that's just been my experience, and I might use an accessory lift, to get someone to. So, for instance, they can't do a chin up, they'll do a lat pull down. If they can't do a squat, they'll do a leg press. That's
mm.
great. But outside of that, I don't see the utility in them personally because they don't allow you to handle heavy loads progressively over time.
Yeah, I don't think a lying hamstring curl or seated hamstring curl will develop your hamstrings very much because like hamstrings they're like type 2 muscle fibers and
Right.
people just repping out for days on a hamstring curl machine. I don't think it gets you very far.
Right, exactly,
Like
exactly.
restoring.
Well, I said to you before, it's like every superhero scene, right?
Mm,
What creates the superhero? A high amount of stress,
mm,
So in order for you to change, you have to have a very stressful situation.
mm,
Your sets of 20 or 30 aren't going to do anything. Progressively heavier weights does,
mm.
So that's the rule one. So it must permit the use of heavy loads. Rule two, it must train the body as a system and not in pieces for it to constitute a strength training. So you talked about there, obviously, you didn't see the utility of hamstring curls, or whatever it might
I
be.
see, yeah, I mean, obviously we disagree on this. I see the benefit to training your hamstrings under knee flexion. I know you don't, but like
Yeah.
for me, a Nordic curl is far more superior and intense than a set of hamstring curls will ever be.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
There's a reason,
absolutely.
like there's a reason why anyone can walk in the gym and rep out hamstring curls. Like, no, unless you have some strength in your posterior chain, you're not going to go in there and just whack out Nordic curls.
Right, right. Well, I think a Nordic requires a higher degree of skill and coordination as well than a hamstring curl does
Mm,
too. And there's also more of a stability element involved with something like a Nordic curl, and that makes it, and that's part of the reason I prefer,
mm,
things like that,
mm,
over a machine. Because there's a whole, your muscles don't work in isolation. They work as a system of which are attached to levers, which are your bones, right?
Yeah.
And they they move everything together as a system. Now, if you are not training that muscle through its normal function, then that can be problematic. And particularly, look, if you're strength training and you're isolating joints, you are no longer strength training. That
Mm.
becomes body part training and bodybuilding, in my opinion. I think muscles should work together as a system in the way that they were designed to have us operate through life and the way that we're meant to move about in life. Normal human movement patterns. I think
Yeah.
that's how it should be trained. Um, and the third one that I've got is move through a full range of motion, right? So I think, I don't want to go too deep in on this because we talk about isometrics and stuff,
Yeah.
but I was talking the other day, I don't like basically isometrics like pauses, right? Aren't they? Basically, you pause at like certain ranges in the movement. I don't necessarily like that. I don't like half squats or quarter squats because it doesn't take you through a full range of motion.
Mm.
Um, your body, if you're only doing a partial, you're missing out on a bunch of potential strengthening through, your tendons, ligaments, connective tissue, muscle mass. Why wouldn't you train through a full range? And what advantage have you got to just training through a partial range?
Mm.
Well, not anything to what I'm aware of. And some people might say, well, if you can train through a partial range, you can produce more force and, you can, I've heard it before. I used to do functional isometrics where you'd explode into a pin like
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
hard.
Like, yeah. Overcoming. Yeah.
And people say, oh, you can apply like tons of force, for like that period of time at that specific point in the range of motion. Well, it's like a sticking point is ranges of motion. It's not that exact point.
Mm.
It's also a below and above. And to a degree, isometrics will cover that. But it's also, a sticking point arises from an entirety of the range of motion, not just from that specific point. There can be a bunch of things that go on, in a range of motion that makes you stick at that particular time, like a technical deviation,
Mm.
bunch of things. Um, and again, comes back to time and attention. I'm not a massive fan of that. I think
Mm.
progressively heavier weights is what makes people stronger. And the fourth one is technique,
Mm.
like your technique has to be, sorry, the safety of the lift, right? So the lift has to be safe with the technique that you're using. Otherwise, it's not productive. Like
Mm.
like those heavy weights, right, on the eccentrics. You see me with the weight
The bunkers and
releases.
yeah. Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
damn, I wouldn't do that with anyone today. No
Mm.
way. No way am I doing that. No way am I putting someone under, over 100% of what they can lift. Because then you're getting on the connective tissues and it's just a nightmare waiting to happen.
Mm.
So that's my sort of criteria when I look at an exercise. And hopefully that's valuable to people listening because now you can look at your exercises that you're using and think, well, do they actually check those four boxes? Because if they don't, it's probably exercising, which is fine. Training isn't for everyone. No, and like genuinely, that's fine. But if you're looking to get a result, you gotta use an exercise that ticks those four boxes.
Mm. So what? Because I've heard an argument that strength alone, being able to demonstrate strength on something doesn't necessarily mean that your tissue has the capacity to tolerate it
What does
long
that
term.
mean? Break that
So
down for me.
this it was referred to on a in terms of lower back. So someone saying that they could do whatever it be, RDL, back extension, whatever, with a certain amount of load, but they were still getting back pain. Um, and or like they were getting pain in their lower back, whatever, doing it. And the argument was that you might have the strength to um what was the word? Express you'd be able to express that movement and that strength like for like 1 rep, 2 reps, whatever it be, but your tissue doesn't have the capacity. to to handle that truly like you would with volume. And that's where the benefit to doing more volume is, and apparently like ISOs and stuff to increase the capacity of the tissue. I yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
well,
a big fan.
what I would say is that if you are able to execute that movement pattern
Mm,
and execute it safely, say if you can do a deadlift with good form and
mm,
you hit 200 kilos, and then the next workout you hit 202.5 kilos for a set of five, and then you hit 205 kilos for a set of five a couple of days later,
mm.
following week you hit, and you get the point, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You are literally demonstrating that the tissues can handle that force.
Yeah, so I think because you're increasing your ceiling, aren't you? Same with like if you can sprint at this speed and you can increase your speed, then jogging is just going to feel like nothing in
Yeah,
comparison. Eh?
exactly. So it's quite literally like you're actually seeing it happen. You know,
Mm,
the tissues are able to handle the force because if
yeah.
they weren't, you wouldn't be able to pick up the weight or you'd probably
Mm,
hurt yourself, you know? So
yeah.
that's what I would say to that. It's like, can you recover from the movement pattern?
Mm,
And can you execute the movement pattern? And if you can, then the tissues are handling the force.
yeah, yeah,
Otherwise,
yeah.
you'd hurt yourself.
Yeah.
You know.
Mm,
So yeah, that would be my advice to my 16-year-old self. Anyway, like look at what you're doing. Not don't just do things similar to you, I suppose.
mm,
Like don't just do an exercise. Like this is my one of my big bugbears. Of people saying every exercise works is only context. I used to say that.
mm,
But really, the more and more I'm learning, it's like, no, I'm sorry. It's like there are good and poor exercises out there.
mm.
And that checklist that I just ran through quite literally breaks that down quite
Yeah, yeah.
logically,
Mm.
So yeah. But anyway, should we get into nutrition? Do you
Yeah,
want to take me back to those forum days, mate? I want to get
yeah.
in the room with you.
Yeah, so yeah, when I got interested in like I suppose my diet and my nutrition was really just to kind of get lean and consequently, searching online. And I used to spend a lot of time on bodybuilding.com forums. There was a whole section on nutrition, diet, and people, just like you go on any forum, everyone just putting their two pence worth in on what they think. Um, and then yeah, so I started learning about cheat days and how you could incorporate these foods, but they needed to be within a certain, ideally 24-hour period. Um, and then outside of that, you needed to stick to like quote unquote clean foods. So yeah, uh, no, that's how I developed my approach to diet and nutrition back then, and I stuck to it rigidly. Like I am very good at sticking to something. If I want to do something, I set my mind to it and I freaking do it. And unfortunately, that worked against me because obviously I developed a very disordered eating from it. But yeah, that was my background. And yeah, now things now that would be classified very much as a myth around nutrition. Back then, they were things that I almost took as gospel, and I let them very much control how I ate and how yeah, I guess lived my social life to a degree because it was all governed by my what I could and couldn't eat and times I could and couldn't eat.
Well, I remember the story, I think you told her on here before about when your family went out to get an Indian and you were like, sorry, I'll meet you later because I've got to go train. Do you
Yeah,
remember
so
that story?
I can remember once, yeah, I'd come home from work and I was working in an office at the time and it was a Friday night and yeah, my family were going out for something to eat, just a local restaurant, and there were, it was sort of like it was like I used to always have a structure, so it was like a Friday night I would eat this meal, and then Saturday was my cheat day. So it was all building up to that one day where it was almost like a get out of prison because I got to eat the foods that I really crave. So I was like, all right, Friday night was my whatever meal. It was like sweet potato and something. And then I got home from work and I can remember my family saying, oh, we're going for a meal. You're going to come? And that was like, whoa, shit. Like freak out, spanner thrown in the works. I'm like, I've got to go and train and then I've got to eat this meal. And that's almost like my acceptance to then have my cheat day. So I remember then, and it was something like, oh, you've got like I didn't have time to go and train. So like the gym where I was training at the time was like a 15-minute walk, and I wouldn't have time to go up there, train, and then come back. And so I was like, I had like 20 minutes. I was like, panic, panic, panic. Need to go and do some exercise to, deplete glycogen and justify the food and the extra calories I'm probably going to eat out because, the meal could be cooked in oil and all sorts of things are scrambling through my head at this time.
How long did this go on for? Like an hour or like
Oh
how
no,
long
literally.
you in turmoil for?
Oh, literally like 2 minutes. Like the moment I hear that I'm going out to eat, I'm like, yeah, panic stations. I'm like,
Mm.
I need to expend energy. I need to get a workout in because I've got to deplete glycogen so my muscles are ready to absorb the extra calories and things. So I literally go down the road and I knew I had like 20 minutes. So it's dark. It's pitch black. And I just start running hill sprints. And I don't mean like,
Wow.
I'm not running hill sprints like I run hill sprints now to train my speed. I'm just literally like running up the top of the hill, jogging back down, running up again, just to expend energy and get a workout in. And then I remember going out that night and I don't know, ordering, studying the menu and being like having anxiety about it because thinking, oh, there's going to be added like butter and oils in these foods. And I can remember whatever I'd ordered, I don't know, like a vegetarian chili or something, and asking, I didn't want rice. I wanted salad on the side instead. And could I also get an extra portion of vegetables? But no butter on the veg. Like that's how it
So,
got pretty extreme.
wow, wow. It just goes to show me how like that situation can see, like to the outsider look quite harmless, like seeing you on a bodybuilding forum,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden it can really just spiral out of control, can't it?
Yeah,
Quickly.
and it's so bonkers to think about it because literally the next day, on the Saturday, I would be stuffing down anything because it's my, cheat day. So eating to absolute excess, but I
Mm.
couldn't dare just go and enjoy a social meal with my family on the Friday night without, absolutely stressing over it. And that's the I guess the sad consequence of how people get with their nutrition because there's so many myths out there even today, and people dig themselves into a bad place with it.
Well, it's more so today. I mean,
Mm.
you look at like the accessibility of social media and you see
Yeah.
these accounts pop up and they talk about how you gotta wash off your strawberries in like, was it bicarb or something
So
or
or something,
baking
yeah.
salt? Yeah, and it's like, it's
Got
wild.
the carnivore community where you've got to eat off the board and everything's got to be raw and all this.
And this is why, like, I kind of flip flop back and forth between this whole thing of calling people out
Mm.
because I do think someone has to do it too.
Yeah.
It's like,
You're doing God's work. Like,
well, I mean, you don't obviously not look at yourself that way, right? Because
yeah.
that's a trap in itself, like you're the savior or whatever,
Yeah.
but um, but I do think that someone does have to call it out because if
Mm.
there isn't pushback, more people are going to listen,
Yeah.
and that's a big problem, So that is why I am happy that there are people out there like Elaine Norton, for instance,
Mm.
and I mean, look, is it a part of my content plan to call people out? No,
Yeah.
absolutely not. But if I see something and I'm
Mm.
like, yeah,
Yes, that
this,
is good.
yeah, this isn't okay, it's got to be said because
Mm.
it's easy today on social media for anyone to literally say anything that they want without any consequences. And when you mess with people's nutrition, obviously we're just talking about training. And
Mm.
yeah, I might disagree with whoever, right? Does it really matter? Like when you boil it down? Well, it does to an extent because that costs someone a result, right? But with nutrition, that might cost you your sanity.
Yeah.
And that's a big issue, you
Mm.
know? So how like what would be your advice then to that person that
Oh,
was
well,
obsessing about the curry?
so like obviously while we've got more access to and bombarded with lots of bad information, there is also
Good.
access to good information.
Mm,
So the first thing would be to learn off someone who has obviously done their time in learning about nutrition. Someone who like is evidence based and yeah, go from there. And then if you really want to obviously save yourself from long-term problems with your nutrition and get away from the whole yo-yo of like on and off the diet, dieting for holidays and all that kind of thing, work with a nutrition coach who can actually help you and set you up long term. Like that's what I wish I had back then. Because like how I eat now and everything is just seamless. It's just easy. Nothing is ever out of bounds. I just get to enjoy it. Like don't get me wrong. Sometimes I'll overeat, so I might have a couple of weeks where go over my calorie balance. Who knows? Do I gain some weight from it? Yeah, I probably do, but just balances it back out, and I never get to a place where I'm like unhappy or stressed or cutting food groups out or specific foods or have to say no to social occasions or thinking, oh, I don't really want to go and do this because that doesn't align with my diet. And that's what a lot of people do live. So yeah,
Well, I've seen been around you tons of times, and one thing you do, which we both do, is keep it very simple.
that's it. Yeah.
Like I think we are very aligned like that in our way of
Mm.
thinking. With my training, obviously I keep it simple, and
Mm.
nutrition I keep it simple, and you're the same.
Yeah.
Just it's like the more you complicate things, there is a time and a place for complexity. Don't get me wrong, and
Mm.
but in very specific situations,
Yeah.
someone's weight cutting, for instance, then yeah, it's a bit of a science then, isn't it? To get somebody's body weight down or whatever it might be.
Same with your performance. Like if
Yeah.
you're going to compete in a sport, you need to get your nutrition right pre-match, pre-game.
Timing,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
100%. And so there is that as well.
Mm.
And we're not denying that, but the detail that some of these people go into is absolutely mind-blowing, you
Mm.
know. So yeah, that coming on to my advice, someone nutrition would be keep it simple.
Yeah.
Like make your life easy. You've got two paths in this life. You can make it very complicated and obsess over the granular details that, in the grand scheme of things, don't really mean much of anything, when
Mm.
you break it down. Or you can trust the principles,
Mm.
and you can follow the principles. And principles are far easier to follow. They're far easier to identify if you're making progress or not. And you're going to be happier for it too,
Yeah.
and that's your choice. Two
Yeah.
paths. I was down path A,
Yeah. Yeah. Same. Yeah.
and you were,
Yeah.
and we learned the hard way and got
Yeah.
burned.
Yeah.
Both training and nutrition. I
Yeah.
I was very similar to, not to that same extent, but I certainly had disordered eating. I never
Yeah.
had
I mean, I'm talking to you, and I can remember because you were like, "Oh, yeah, it's my cheat day tomorrow, and I've got cookies from like a
yeah.
bag of cookies from Tesco's. I have a pint of milk. I have these fajitas." And obviously, I remember I obviously been through it, and I'm like, "Oh God, yeah, you're having like the Rock's cheat day there, and you've been sold that I guess that story of that's how to do it."
Yeah, well, I told you before, and I've said it on here. I used to have, probably looking back, about 2,500 calories
Mm.
on that evening,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
you know, which is wild.
And
And
the other
I've
one,
got an appetite,
yeah, I know, yeah. The other one that gets me though is after you've done your photo shoot, and you're eating oats, but you've got like an Easter egg in your oats or something. I'm
Have you
like,
seen that picture?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like that's someone coming off the back of a diet, wanting like food volume, but also wanting like the taste of like the foods that you've been denied. It's just like, I know, I'll just get a bowl of oats and I'll stick my Easter egg in there.
Shit. Tap. That's awful, isn't it? Mate, I was so hungry.
Oh yeah, I know, yeah, yeah,
Well, I
absolutely.
went straight to Miller and Carter after.
Yeah.
Did
Yeah,
you
well, you
know
just want
that?
to stuff
Yeah.
yourself, yeah, because your body's just crying out for energy.
That Miller and Carter meal was
Mm.
like nothing I ever tasted. Me and Lainey went there. I remember I booked the reservation. I was like, right, as soon as we're done here,
Mm.
we're going into town. We're
Yeah.
going to Miller and Carter, and I know exactly what I'm ordering. So I went for the huge ribeye steak
Mm.
because I wanted volume too,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
you
yeah,
just
yeah,
pointed out. Because when you're starving, that's what you want. You want
yeah.
to you want something tasty, but the volume too.
You want to last, you want it to be, yeah, that's it.
I had the starter come out, and I remember finishing the starter, and I was like, I cannot wait a second longer for main meal, like
Mm.
because it was the first bit of like tasty, like different food that I had in
Yeah.
so long, and I remember eating it, and I was like, oh my God, this is insane. And then the main came out, and I devoured that. I
Mm.
think afterward, I had the big chocolate fudge cakes. So Miller and Carter do a fudge cake. I don't know if you've had it, and they put like a big knife in it. It's like the Matilda cake or the
All right.
Bruce cake kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah,
I think I had that and I smashed that. Then I went home and did the bowl of porridge, which is that picture with the half an Easter egg in there.
yeah,
And I had two protein brownies as well from my protein, and
yeah.
I polished them off too. And I was just like, this is what I'm on about, guys. Like, it's like we've gone through it. Do you know
Yeah,
what I
you
mean?
just yeah, and if you do that, you get an unsatiable appetite.
You do. And yeah, I looked back then and I was just like, man, that was so disordered.
Mm.
You know, and there's people that do this all the time, you know, and I'm just like, wow, I don't know how you're functioning this way. Like now, you know, tonight I'll go out. We're gonna go out after this and do a food shop, and you know, I'm gonna get like mainly healthy foods, but I'm gonna get like a tub of ice cream, and I'm gonna get like, you know, a couple of other things that I like, and I'll have ice cream every night, pretty
Yeah.
much. I'll have like 120 grams in a bowl. At the end of the day, I think it's like I don't know, probably 300, 400 calories, something like that, and I
Mm.
enjoy that at the end of every day. You know, I don't feel the need to like say, yeah, I need to sit down at 6:30 p.m. and get the TV ready on a Friday evening and get my fajitas ready, followed with my two bowls of ice cream. It's like if you live in that way,
Yeah.
I think you need to reach out and get some help, you know, and probably beyond us,
Oh yeah.
you know,
You got
some
it's all
psychological
yeah,
help.
yeah, yeah.
So I loved that, mate. That was brilliant.
Mm.
I really enjoyed that. Anything else you want to add to that? Any other advice you think would be valuable or not?
No, I don't think so. No, not at all.
So to sum that up, what was it? Yours was have a structure and goal with
Mm.
training. Mine was be careful about what you do and what you don't do with
Yeah.
training. Um, keep it simple from the both of us with nutrition,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and follow the right people too.
Yeah, that's it. Do your due diligence in terms of who you learn off when it comes to yeah, your
I
nutrition.
think that's some solid advice.
Mm.
I think we've given some solid advice there.
Yeah.
Go on, take us out. Go
All
on.
right. Well,
You like
I'll
to
yeah,
get that voice purring
uh,
for me.
yeah. Guys, if you've enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating and review and subscribe on Spotify and iTunes, and we'll catch you in the next episode.